intercepted. You're number 2 on the list. Well, who's number 1? An unknown, a civilian.
Lookoutfa Charlie.
I want him to.
So a couple weeks ago, I thought it was important that I repost an old video for people to watch because people really seem to forget about it. And then a little while ago, I read a comment from Jimbo, who I've been in contact with quite a bit for the last couple of years. And he reminded me of it because he said here, so what I was pushing you to find was the infection, but the designer infection doesn't produce a fungi. It produces a graphene-based building block. And this is why I think people have forgotten about it. He wasn't being shitty or anything when he wrote that. I've talked to Jimbo a lot. But it reminded me, and I want to show you that this was being talked about in 2018, 2019. I was looking into it throughout 2018, but I wasn't sure about it. And then once I was sure about it in 2019, I came forward with the information. Now, post COVID-19, everybody is talking about graphene. Everybody. And I've brought that up to people and they go, oh yeah, but what you're talking about is different. And it's not. All they're doing is putting it right into the bloodstream rather than it growing on the skin, in the sinuses, and then getting down into the spine and going lymphatic. That is what this infection does, and it creates a dirty board. So every time you say dirty board, you owe me a nickel. 1 nickel, because I coined it. And what that dirty board does is it makes somebody who wouldn't normally be sensitive to frequencies suddenly sensitive to frequencies. You know, everybody is talking about it. Graphene, graphene, graphene. It's the same thing. This stuff is being just pushed right into the bloodstream, straight to the vein. It is a much harsher version of what we've been dealing with for all these years. But yes, I said it was graphene a long time ago. I had been looking for photos and images for years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replay the video that I released a few years ago, because for somebody who hasn't seen this or people who forgot, this is what you need to know. You need to know this. Another thing that I want to explain, because a lot of people asked this question after I released the last video a few years ago. They asked what the helicopter was at the end. I didn't put it in there because I was afraid of it. I put it in there because it was funny. Because once I had figured this out and I was about ready to do this video, I got an infection in my body suddenly. There was a mystery California wildfire style fire that started right behind my bedroom window while I was taking a nap, that ended up melting like half the damn neighborhood. But what happened was the wind blew in a different direction and the flames went the opposite way as my house, or else it would have just totally taken the house out. But it was very crazy. And then we started getting these helicopters every day. And, you know, people post these videos of helicopters just flying by and they go, see, or a plane. And you go, yeah, it's a fucking helicopter flying by, or it's a plane flying by. But these weren't doing that. They were literally pointing right at our house and hovering right up above. And the camera makes it look far away. It's almost like a dash cam, the way this one shot images. You know, it makes it look far away. My kid and I would sit out and just watch them and film them when they came around. And we'd be going, what are they doing? And then what they would do is they would do this move where they would point the helicopter towards us and then dive so that you couldn't see the numbers of the helicopter. Like at first, the first time it happened, we thought the helicopter crashed, but it didn't crash. So this, in reality, if you watch, is very close to us. So this started happening. It was just really funny. I didn't put it up there to be like, you know, see. I just thought it was really funny that all of a sudden these helicopters start literally just hovering right up above our house, pointed at our house, and then to evade us identifying it by number, it does this crazy dive thing. So if you watch it, it's going to go boom. And it was much more dramatic with your own two eyes because it looked like it hit the ground. Right here. See, it's maroon and silver. I've been trying to figure out what that is. This would happen all the time during that period. And then after that, then it slowed down. Even my phone went missing. So there was like all this crazy shit happening like at the same time. But anyway, I'm going to replay this graphene video that's about graphene long before people were talking about graphene. So here we go. So I sat on this information for a long time, and as soon as I was 110% behind it and decided to go forward with it, that's when the fucking craziness fucking started. But I'll talk about that at the end of the video, and we will get straight to business. Alright? If you go into my videos, if you're new, go and check out some of my older videos from 2015, 16, 17, in that era. And I talked about a fungus on the skin that is used to deliver electronic harassment symptoms. I also talked about dirty boards, which is basically a term I made up to describe creating a dirty circuit board to deliver electricity and electronic harassment symptoms to an individual. We talked about the target-shaped floaters in people's eyes, the scratches, the skin issues. There's always something going on with target skin, you know. Some people, it's completely invisible on. And there are a lot of people out there that are affected, connected, whatever you want to call it, and have no idea. Because even for me, my skin, it was completely invisible on my skin until my symptoms became overt. And then it seemed to explode. I had everything laid out, and I knew what it was, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And now I know exactly what it is. And if you're ready, I'm ready. I had these photos of microscopic images that I had taken of things that came off my skin, and I saw microscopic images of other people's skin. I had photos, jeweler's loupe photos of the biofilm, the fungal film, and different things. And I had the photos, but I didn't know what it was. So it's like having the answer to the question, but you don't have the question. So it took years of searching on the web and comparing it to other things. And once I found it, it all fell into fucking place. Here's what's up. What you're dealing with, what I'm dealing with, what everybody's dealing with, it's self-replicating fungal graphene. And it's used with Shigella to deliver it. That's a bacteria that's being delivered within the fungus to create graphene, which is the dirty board, which is delivering the electricity through the power grid, your walls, smart meters, which create a dirty electricity field within your home, cell phone signals piggybacking on, and wireless piggybacking on. Remember, you can charge a fucking phone wirelessly. This shit can run on as low as 10 kilovolts. Alright? You can pretty much make that electricity by rubbing your fucking hands together or rubbing your socks on a carpet and shocking somebody. That is such little electricity. So that's what's up. It's a self-replicating fungal graphene with Shigella to deliver it. That is what's going on. I am 110%. I sat on it. We're going to get into it, show you photos, take you to the web, show you that people are using it. But that is what's up. That is what the fuck is up. When I saw these photos, I about died. Okay, top photo. You see that? It's very close up. It looks like dried, old and dry skin. That is a sample of graphene. In the middle, it says bright area, dark area. That is graphene from the web. This is layers of graphene. You can see the bright area is one layer. The darker area is 2 layers. Then you have 3 layers and 4 layers at the darkest. Okay, I've talked about dirty tans and people's skin looking weird, dark circles under your eyes that look unnatural. That's what this is. You've got this shit growing on you in layers, and if you look close, it looks like you can see the little lines starting from the top left and moving down. It looks like little matchsticks together. So it builds in like blocky fibers that look like French fries or matchsticks next to each other. The darker it gets, the more you can see the lines in it. Now, the photo below that is the shit that came off my skin, which has the same lines, the same dark spots where it is building up thicker. If you look over to the bottom right, that was also from my skin back in the day. That is the same thing, graphene. It's a little messier because that's a science photo they're taking, bright area, dark area. Now you can see as it gets thicker, it gets darker where the straight lines are on the upper right there. That is absolutely and 100% graphene. It's fungal graphene. That's what's on you. The graphene creates a circuit board. You see the circuit board next to the bright area, dark area? I didn't put that there. The web put that there. They put that there next to it to show that it is a circuit board. I swear to God, it's as if somebody gave me all the information. So let's go to the next photo. All right. There's the same thing, bright area, dark area, but in the upper right, this is a different photo of graphene showing that it builds in these matchstick French fry lines. Now look to the lower left, you'll see a red sample which came out of my face. It felt like fiberglass had come out, right? Which is funny because I once thought that this was related to fiberglass, or was fiberglass in my skin because it hurt the same way as when you're working with fiberglass and if you don't wear gloves or if it gets in your skin. And graphene is related to fiberglass. It's like chaff almost. You know, they could dump it from a fucking plane and claim that it was chaff, for Christ's sake. But you can see the French fry matchstick lines and the shit that came out of my face. Now, to the lower right is another sample that didn't get bloody, and you can see the build lines within it. That is graphene. Compare it to the upper right. It's graphene that came off my body, and it's on everybody's body who has these symptoms. Now, here's another form of graphene. Same shit, but in a different form as it's getting to you. Before it gets on the skin and starts growing, to the left, there's a picture of graphene from the web. In the lower left, there's another photo of graphene from the web. One is just a closer view. These are samples from my house. I have a video out there called like Got Dust or something to the effect of dust, talking about the weird dust that people are finding in their homes. This is a graphene dust, and the red on it, if you see a color photo of it, which I have one, the red stuff connected to it is Shewinella, which grows a rusty color, bloody rusty. These are to the upper right. These are graphene fibers that we have, that are in your home, that Morgellons people have. You know, the big photo is a sample of the graphene that came off my skin and the fibers, the graphene fibers that were growing in it. They're both graphene within fungus with Shewinella used in tandem with it all to grow. What the Shewinella does is it keeps the oxygen levels low enough to make it conductive. Without that, it's not conductive. The Shewinella brings the oxygen levels down low enough to where it is a conductive surface to deliver electronic harassment symptoms or just monitoring somebody. You could do this medical monitoring, you could do audio monitoring, you can do all kinds of shit. Here's from the web, you can see it crushed up. That's what happens when it gets stepped on or crushed. This is basically graphene dust. All 3 photos to the right are from my house doing the same thing. I was taking like a pencil eraser and smashing down on it and then putting it under the microscope and looking. And it just breaks up into pieces. It's the exact same thing. It's the same fucking thing. This is fungal graphene, self-replicating with Shewinella. I shit you not. Here's graphene dust from the home. You can see the particles that are growing, and the rust color that I talked about in another video saying that it looks like blood, that is Shewinella within it. And then once it gets on you or in you, it infects you. The big photo is a big chunk of this graphene that came off my skin, and the photo to the lower right is a more close-up, but it's the same structure of graphene. Okay, from the web on the upper left, you have the photo that was showed before with the bright area, dark area as layers. Then you have the broken up dust chunks that are coming together. The bottom photos are both the same piece, but from different angles. Both are from my skin from before. You can see the right angles and the squares in it where this shit was growing. And as it grows in layers, the thicker it gets, the darker it gets, because it's fungal motherfucking graphene. Here's another chunk with the Shewinella red rust color, and you can see the fibers within it. These are old pics. Here's a chunk. This was just to show that this is not, skin coming off people. You can see this with sort of looks like mold spores in it, which are the rusty Shewinella color. Now here's just another pic just to show that it's not skin. You got oblong and weird shaped holes, oxygen holes, and then you've got the Shewinella rust kind of running through it. Here's a piece that looks like metal, and if you go back, actually I don't have to go back, I think there's a photo of this. There's the metal piece with strips that has grown just like the graphene, and it is literally metal. It looks like solder. Here's another, same thing, just focus different and brightness and contrast adjusted. Within different light, you can actually see the red rusty shit on it. Alright, this is the biofilm fungal graphene oxide. You can see it from the photo before. You can see the strips of it growing on the left, and then the metal one that's just full on metal is just like it. And then that's a different version of the same photo showing the strips. Pretty crazy, huh? Pretty crazy. But guess what? Now we know what it is. And graphene oxide is easy to produce, but it is not very conductive due to all the oxygen groups in it, says Ann Meyer, lead researcher on the study. The bacteria, Shewinella, remove most of the oxygen groups, which turns it into a conductive material. This is why when you're first targeted, some of your first symptoms are twitching. Your muscles twitch, your eye twitches. You know what I'm saying? Because this gets on your lungs as well. You twitch, your extremities cramp up, your hands cramp up, your feet cramp up, you get cramps in weird spots, just weird shit going on because you're low on oxygen, because the Shewinella is driving the oxygen out of you so that the graphene can be electrically conductive and get its power from the dirty electricity within your homes. Here's a graphene fiber that looks very much like a hair. It even looks like it has a root in the middle. Right? Look at the graphene dust over there on the left. Amazing. Science. Here is graphene pods that almost look like insect legs. Very similar to the dust. See, the stuff And if you look at the bottom, you can see the French fry strips too, where it's growing in fibers next to each other. If you pay attention, this stuff can be all different shapes and sizes, and it ends up the same. Once it gets on the skin, it ends up doing the same stuff. But then the skin will grow. It will grow the graphene film. It will grow the graphene fibers. It will grow all different sorts of graphene where it's needed. It will take over the hair follicle and grow a graphene fiber from that looks like a really fucked up hair. And we're back to 1. So those are photos of all the things that I've taken and then compared to this to get results. I was searching for photos that look like this stuff for fucking years, and it's fucking over. We know what it is. Now it's just figuring out how to destroy it. This is definitely a Shewinella is very easy to program and manipulate. They say that. If you look up in science journals, they say that everybody uses it because it's so easy to basically program and get it to do what you want, to deliver what you want. And the graphene is just, it's the dirty board. It's the dirty board that I've been talking about. Now, this is the part where you need to do research on your own, because I'm not going to get into all of this deeply. But look up fungal graphene. You can Google it or DuckDuckGo it so it's not censored or whatever, or start page it. Check out right here. We have the first page I'll show you is bacteria recruited to produce graphene on the cheap. And what bacteria is that? It's Shewinella. And check out the details. That is in newatlas.com. Like I said, look that up as well. Then we've got fungal transformation of graphene by white rot fungus, and porous carbonized graphene embedded fungus film as an interlayer for superior lithium batteries. Says graphene embedded carbon fiber film has been fabricated by using filaments fungus bionic mushrooms that generate electricity created by scientists. And then, like I said, look up bioreplicating fungal graphene or biofungal graphene. It's being used everywhere. They're talking about it as if it's new, but it's not new. They're just coming forward with what they can do with it. So, we talked about, a long time ago, I talked about the rust. My house looked like it had been sprayed with something. There was a sticky liquid all over my windows. I'll put pics up. It was all over my windows with these fibers everywhere. On my living room windows, on my kitchen windows. Everything had what I called this rust. It was this red rust, and it was all over everything, and it would grow if you let water stand for 24 hours or longer. It would rapidly grow in there, and I didn't know what it was. I knew that there was this rust. I knew that there was a fungus involved in this. I knew that there were these fibers. I knew that it was creating a battery and an antenna, but I didn't know what it was. It was driving me nuts. And as it turns out, that rust that was all over my home, and most likely still is, was the Shewinella. It grows in water so quickly. It falls down into the water and grows. It will grow in anything. There's a photo that I had of a plastic bucket of water that I left out for 24 hours, and it started to grow in there in spots. I have a photo of a sugar bowl where it had started to grow within the sugar bowl. It was everywhere. That was the Shewinella causing this. There's also, for deliverance method to get it into homes, it can grow as the the rust red Shewanella, and there's also the Shewanella algae that is coincidentally all over the north side outer wall of every home in this neighborhood, every garage, every structure, the north side. I will show photos of that. There's and it's falling down like spray paint. It's not underneath the window. If you put something against the house, it won't grow there. If it was an algae, it would grow like a fungus in the sense that it would grow from down below up. And it has been here since about 2014, 2015, visibly. And it's growing and growing. It's all over everybody's house. And now, finally, after picking and poking and making people look, people locally are starting to notice it. So what it is you've got this red Shewanella, and then you've got this Shewanella algae that is literally falling from the sky and falling down on everything around this neighborhood and around you, whether you can see it or not. It's there. My neighbor moved out, so there's no one here to clean this. This is Shewanella algae that's falling down from the sky. And the reason why I can say it's falling down from the sky is because if you look at the windowsills, there's no algae underneath it, which means it's falling down like paint and not getting underneath the windows. He briefly rented this out to a really crazy chick that got kicked out. When she got kicked out, she put her TV up against the wall and then left. Before it got thrown out, you can see that where it sat, there's no algae underneath it at all. It's coming from the sky, it's falling down. It's on the north side of every structure in this neighborhood. The north side, every structure. This is Shewanella algae falling from the sky, literally. See, at the very, very, very beginning of this, when I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, I was looking at everything. And that's why I stayed away from the TI scene, because in my opinion it becomes an echo chamber in a lot of ways. You got to really get out of the box to start looking at this. But I thought there was I had like a vitamin C deficiency that was being driven by something else. At one time, I was waking up and my skin was numb. My muscles in my face seemed dead. There were muscles around my eyes that were dead. They were literally, it was like they were dead. They weren't working. I could feel, if I paid attention, that they were not working properly. And I thought that I was infected somehow with something that was either Botox or related to Botox. And turns out that I was wrong, but I was kind of right, because the Shewanella is completely related to the same thing. And that's why my muscles felt dead at the beginning. My skin felt numb. When I would wake up, I would have numb spots on my skin and all this weird shit going on. It's very, very, very similar in a lot of aspects. And people, so many people and their pets, their dogs, their cats have this and don't realize it. Especially in the summertime, I see it on the backs of people's arms, on their shins. Their shins and their ankles and their calves will appear burned. If you look around, there's so many people that have this. It appears burned, and the pores look really big, and it's really fucked up. And they will have edemas. These edemas of the face that look like shellfish reactions. Their lungs will swell and they'll say that it's pneumonia. You'll get this edema of certain limbs. I had edema at the beginning of this from the Shewanella. The only smart thing the doctors asked me is whether or not I had been out of the country, because they thought I had a parasite, which I did, but they couldn't track what it was. See, these people have these reactions that are like shellfish reactions, and their faces will swell, or their limbs will swell, or their joints will swell. It can be mistaken for arthritis. They will go to the hospital with, let's say, a really bad urinary tract infection or something similar, because this Shewanella can start to get out of control on certain people's bodies. And then what they do is they put you on antibiotics, and then it brings that Shewanella back down to start working in tandem again with the fungus. When you walk out, they cured the symptoms, but they did not cure the Shewanella, because all it did was bring it back down to start working back in tandem with everything else and not get out of control. That's why when anybody goes to the hospital, I always predict exactly what's going to happen. They're going to walk out and say that they had an allergic reaction to something or some type of infection, but they never know 100% what. When they're put on antibiotics, it like immediately goes down. There's always a rapid onset and a rapid offset of the shit when it hits. And that's what's going on with everybody. Their pets, their dogs. You got dogs losing their hair, looking like they have the mange, and they'll say they have the mange or they got flea bites, because the Shewanella is designed, when it gets out of control, it can be brought back down easily, but it doesn't kill it. It just brings it back down enough to where it's working back in tandem with everything else. I can't tell you how many people I know personally that have had their faces explode, like puff out like they stepped on a dead pufferfish, on the beach, and had some reaction. And they've never had allergies in their life, and the doctors told them, oh, you had an allergic reaction, and they gave them some, some steroids and some antibiotics or whatever, and it immediately went down. But it didn't go away because so many people are infected with this Shewanella, and the fungal graphene, that it's just fucking out of fucking hand. In fact, most of the cases I'm hearing of these days, I immediately know what it is before anybody else does. And when they walk out of the hospital, like I said, they never really get answers. When it gets out of hand, it's brought back down. So, you've seen these electronics harassment symptoms stages before that are pretty intense. But there are stages of symptoms before you become overtly targeted. And that's the stages of when you're becoming infected with this whole system. And the first stage is when your skin becomes infected. You get this cellulitis. It's a skin infection, right? And then the fungus starts to grow with the Shewanella. That's the second stage, when it gets into the skin, the pores, the hair follicles, right? Then the third stage is, you don't even realize this is happening. The fungus and the Shewanella enters the mouth, the gut, and the sinuses. Once it enters the sinuses, it enters your tubes to your ears, and then you start to get the tinnitus. Then the fourth stage, it goes lymphatic. It gets in your joints, your jaw clicks, pops, your tendons swell, and you can have what they believe are arthritis symptoms, Lyme symptoms, fibromyalgia symptoms, tendinitis, all these different types of autoimmune disorders. So let's try to wrap this up. I didn't post for a while because I had a lot of shit going on. I'll give you two things that happened out of the dozen things. After I was 100% on this, I woke up one day and I had sort of an abscess in my body, my mouth, in between my mouth and my sinuses. I took some antibiotics and went to sleep it off, and it exploded and went to my eye, and that was a little too close to my brain. I went to the hospital. They ended up eventually taking a CAT scan of my skull and telling me that it wasn't an abscess, that it was cellulitis. So there you go. They're saying that it was a skin infection that caused it, which is sort of weird, a skin infection inside your body, but whatever. You're not going to get answers. Of course they didn't know what it was. Then a couple weeks later, there was a mystery fire that was like a California wildfire that started out of nowhere about 30 feet from my house, that burnt down 2 sheds, burned the fence down. That's what the plywood was for in the video. There was a property restoration crew here cleaning it all out. So there was this mystery California wildfire here, and that was crazy. And it was just one crazy thing after another. But on top of all the protocols that I've talked about in the past, check out my older videos. Don't go to my channel, go to my uploads, whatever. Oxygen. This stuff can't thrive with an oxygen-rich body. So, what do we do with that? Well, I'm trying some stuff right now just to experiment with it and see what happens. And I will get back to you because I'm not 100% on this stuff yet. And I don't want to tell you to do or try anything that I'm not 100% on. So, we will see what happens. But this is fucking beatable. All of it. It's coming from an external source. There's no one with a Marvin the Martian gun pointing it at you. You have it on you, which is making you sensitive to electronic harassment attacks. I'm not saying that these are just sensations that you're feeling. I'm telling you that people are attacking people with this stuff. But I'm saying that there is a sensitizer on you that is making you the antenna. And one way or another, we're going to figure out how to fuck these nano dicks up.